What's up, stranger friends? I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you so much for clicking on today's TMI Tuesday. Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hey, I'm Karissa, and this is where you ask questions and I answer them. Let's jump in. So there's a lot of questions about parenting and being a mom. I am going to answer some of them, but a lot of them were actually answered in my previous TMI, so I will link it somewhere up here for you to watch. That was like all about motherhood, my birth experience, and every little last bit of details. The first one that I'm gonna answer directly pertains to the last video, which is, will you fix your split lips? I had 2 labial tears during birth, my labia minora, and basically I have like little horizontal splits, and now I have multiple flaps. And I feel like Dr. Zoidberg. Like, there's just no other way to put it. I don't love aesthetically how it looks. Eventually, yes, I will probably, I think they're called vaginoplasty, something vagina and plasty, and put it together. I would like to do that one day. It's totally a personal thing. Like, it doesn't affect me in any which way. It's just an aesthetic look. Not that like I'm showing that to a lot of people, but I don't know, like when I look down there, I want to feel like I recognize that it's mine. And at this current point in time, I'm like, who is that? So I definitely would get that fixed at some point. I don't think there's any point in doing that before finishing having children, because that could happen again with any subsequent births. But yes, eventually I will be fixing my flaps. Somebody's asked, do you know your astrology big 3 and what are they? I am going to give you just a second to just assess what you think that I am. I'm not like majorly into astrology by any means. It's just something that like I've found interesting over the years because it does seem to come back quite often. I am actually a triple Capricorn. I have a lot of Capricorn in my chart. Pop my chart up on the screen if this is something that you are into. But as I was told, it's not that common that you see people with that many Capricorn in their houses or whatever that is. The main thing that I find is I am logical to a fault. Like, I will never fence sit. I will never be someone that can't be decisive. I very much know who I am and always have, and I'm not afraid to be myself and put myself out that way. And I think that all of those very much align with Capricorn traits. So I think it's a pretty good fit. But yeah, I am very heavily a Capricorn woman. If at a Starbucks, what is your order? In the winter, I'm almost exclusively a hot drink drinker. I really like having a grande white chocolate mocha made with oat milk, half sweet with a pump of peppermint. Yes, I do get whipped cream because, oh, it's so good. In the summer, I usually get some type of iced coffee. I'm not really particular to it though. Something sweet, not too sweet. I always get drinks half sweet at Starbucks. I find that all of their drinks are just like cloyingly sweet, but I would never have like an Americano or like, you know, like something without like some type of like milk and or sugar in it. I need the milk and sugar to make the coffee worth it. I'm not really big into coffee. I might have like maybe one a week. I don't know. Caffeine and I have a complicated relationship. I had a couple people ask this. Does your husband support the family financially? Yeah, Glenn has his entire own career outside of what I do for a living. We were double income, no kids for like 10 years, right? So in the past, when he's gone through like transitions, so like when he graduated from his university and we moved to Canada, like he was doing another schooling program and couldn't work in Canada when we first moved, and so like in times like that he sometimes helps me with like the audio or like does like a second like watch or like second edit of my videos. But yeah, he does completely his own separate thing. If you had never done YouTube, what would you have done for a living instead? I have no idea, and I'm very grateful that I did not have to find that out, at least in my 20s. I had zero plans of doing this for a living because this wasn't a possibility to do for a living. When I started, it was very much just a passion that I shared, and that moved towards having monetary opportunities, and that's been absolutely incredible. And I've been trying to just enjoy that and ride that while it exists. This will not be a forever job, and I know that, and I knew that when I started making money from this. But it's one of those things where it's like, what a unique opportunity that I just don't think many people get to experience, and so I want to enjoy and live that to its absolute fullest while I have that opportunity. And I feel that way about everything, you know, like life is so ephemeral, things are so short-lived, and if it's something that you enjoy, live it with your full heart while you're doing it, and then move on to the next. And so I haven't moved on to the next yet. There will be a point in time where I probably do, so I'm not sure what that's going to look like. Originally I went to school to be in like the fashion world. I thought that I would be more in like merchandising or PR or something along those lines. I think now, after having experienced that from both sides of the experience, I would be way more interested in like, I don't know, like event planning, or I really like event rentals. I know that sounds so weird, but like having like a warehouse full of like rentals to rent people sounds like a really intriguing job. I don't know, like there's so many things that I would consider exploring. I've never been the kind of person that's like, hey, I want to do one job and I'm going to do this one thing for the rest of my life. Like I have zero commitment to one thing. It is not of any interest to me to live my life with a laser focus. I really like to know a little bit about a lot of things, and I love being in charge of my schedule. Now with a kid, it's very different. So I don't know. I will let you guys know what ends up happening, but yeah, I'm really not too sure what I would have ended up doing, and I still don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Someone wants to know, when you had your home birth, who did the cleanup afterwards? Okay, so funny thing is that all of us kind of thought that it was going to be way messier than it was. Like, talking to my mom after the fact, she's like, yeah, I just thought there'd be like a lot more blood, or like, I don't know, just more gore. It wasn't like that at all. Even Goldie came out like freaking clean as a whistle, like whoop, out of the pool and in my arms, and like she didn't have any beer nicks or like goop on her, like she was very clean. So there really wasn't like that much cleanup. The only kind of cleanup was just like basic laundry and like throwing whatever garbage out. There was like dog pee pads that we used for like, you know, catching blood or catching like my amniotic fluid or stuff like that. And then the only other like major cleanup was just emptying the birth pool. And since my parents were here for the birth, my dad just dealt with that. I don't even know what happened, to be completely honest. I know he drained it, I know he sterilized and sanitized it, and we packed it up into a little bag, and then out the door it went, and that was the last that I heard of it. I also made sure after birth, something that was really important to me was that the house was clean, so that I was able to not think about that. So I had actually pre-booked a cleaning service to come, I think it was every 3 weeks, like after my birth. And so funny enough, I booked a clean on my due date, like thinking like, okay, this will be great. Like I didn't think that I'd go into labor early, basically. It's my first child, like I didn't really have any major like signs or symptoms of like impending labor. And I thought like, okay, like the cleaner is coming on Monday, like great, I'll have the baby sometime later in the week and I'll have a clean house. So I ended up having the baby on Saturday, and I had a brand new little newborn when my cleaner came. And so it was kind of perfect, because like anything that wasn't perfect after the home birth, she had already cleaned up by the time I even walked back downstairs. Very grateful that I had a lot of help. Someone wants to know, how many indoor plants do you actually have? I would put the number around 75-ish. At the last place, I think that I had like 100 plus, but I definitely whittled down a few before we moved, and then after we moved, I had a couple that didn't do so well, like the end of my pregnancy and then into the newborn stage. My plants definitely took a bit of a beating. They just weren't my priority in the early days of having a child. So I would say, yeah, around 75 now. Ish. I want to do a video on it. I know I've said this so many times, but it's just one of those ones that just has never manifested. But I definitely want to do like a proper like walk-through plant tour, because there's some really cool plants in here. And it's funny, like I'm so used to it, and I feel like, yeah, this is such like just a normal thing to have like a lot of plants. But whenever I have people over the house, they're just like, holy shit, like you've styled your home with plants. And I thought about it, and I'm like, you know what? Yeah, like I can't imagine living in a home that doesn't have like greenery. It's so weird and sterile and just like lifeless. When I walk into someone's house and they don't have a plant, I'm just like, what? It's weird. Someone wants to know, can you talk a little bit more about how cannabis has helped your postpartum journey? Sure. If you missed in my previous video about motherhood, I spoke about my decision to continue cannabis use throughout my postpartum experience. So catch up there if you haven't. I find it to be just such a wonderful tool in helping me be the best version of myself possible. And I'm so grateful to live somewhere where that is accessible to me, because I feel like it's made a world of difference for my experience, and it really allows me to pause before reacting. Yeah, I just feel like that's something that it's been in my life for a very long time, and for a lot of mental health purpose, it has been very, very helpful. A lot of people have a misconception about cannabis making you be lazy or sit on the couch or eat a lot of food or this or that. And it's not to say that cannot happen. That can absolutely freaking happen. But it really, really depends on your terpene profile and what you're consuming and how you're consuming it, right? Like if I'm consuming something that is a super, super heavy, high THC, very relaxed terpene profile, edible, I'm gonna be stuck on the couch for a couple of hours, and that's probably not something that's going to be beneficial for everyday life. Maybe that's beneficial for, you know, tuning off and like having some me time, but like it's a tool and you need to use the correct tool for the correct moment. I'm probably going to consume something that is a higher energy, like maybe a mango haze, something that is a little bit cerebral, something that gives me a tiny bit of relaxation in my body. That just helps me go, you know what, it's not that bad. Look, we'll have fun. We can watch a YouTube video at the same time. Let's do this and multitask. And like, that is really helpful for me. And I find that I'm able to do things with a lot more joy, to be completely honest. Like how people talk about like the invisible load of motherhood, how you're always thinking about things for other people and you're always having to organize this and do that. And that never really ends, but cannabis really is a buffer between me and that. If you have feelings on that, that's totally fine. But I'm gonna keep doing what I'm gonna keep doing because I have had a wonderful postpartum experience. My daughter's happy and healthy. She has a happy and healthy mother, and that's what matters. The next question is, how are you doing, Karissa? Not as a mom, not as a wife, but just me. How am I doing? I'm doing really well. Like, I feel as though I finally stepped into a season where I'm like, right time, right place, let's go. And it feels so good to feel that way. Like, for so long, I was sick or I wasn't motivated because I just felt really lost sharing my life publicly, or I felt really lost for a very long time when I moved overseas and I just did not feel as though I had a place where I was living, and I feel really settled for the first time in a very long time, and I'm so grateful. I'm so freaking grateful because it took a long time to get to this point. And I think that I'm more grateful now than ever to be in this place because I realize again how ephemeral that can be. Like things change, you know, and life changes and you gotta roll with it. And I think right now, like I'm just in such a season of embracing the good and embracing where I really just feel like I'm thriving, and I'm so glad to just be in this season right now. Your question's asking like, how am I feeling, not as a mom, not as a wife, but like, at the end of the day, like that at this season in my life is what my life is revolving around, and I'm okay with that. Like I have had it be about me for so many years, and I could do what I wanted, go where I wanted, you know, do what I wanted to do, and like that's wonderful. Don't get me wrong, I'm so glad I had the time to do that, but like I'm really loving this season of somebody needing me and somebody wanting me, and the routine and the reliability, and yeah, I don't know. I like it so much more than I thought that I would. I thought that I'd feel a lot more overwhelmed. And yeah, again, a lot of that is my community and my privilege and that, but a lot of that is also my preparation of feeling like, nope, I waited to have children, and I waited and did what I wanted to do first so that I could fully invest myself now, and it just feels like the right place and the right time, and I'm very, very, very grateful. Someone's asked, do you like your voice? Because I like your voice. Thank you so much. That's very kind. I feel like I've addressed this at some point in some TMI or some video previously. Everyone in my life has always told me to shut up, stop talking, I talk too much, or that I'm annoying, and all of those are probably very valid and true if you lived with me and you had to be subjected to every little thing that pops up in my head. But yeah, it's so funny to me that I talk for a living. Like, it is comical that anyone would actually enjoy listening to me. So thank you very much if you're here and listening to me, and if you like my voice, thank you so much. A lot of people wanted to know, baby number 2, do you want to have another baby? Are you going to have more children? It's so funny. Like, I feel like that is the number one question, that like you shoot out your first kid and then immediately like the next day people are like, so do you want another? And it's like, wow, okay, let me just like reel it in for a second. Let me enjoy my baby while she is a baby. But yeah, it's just so funny, like that mentality. It was the same like when we announced that we were engaged. The first question is like, so when are the babies coming? People are never happy living in the moment that they're in, and so in this current moment that I'm in, I'm very happy, just the 3 of us plus Lola. But yeah, like absolutely down the road I would love to have another baby. It's so funny, like I always saw myself with 2 kids, and now I'm like, I could have 3. I make great kids. Like, I don't know, I think it comes back to like, I'm so glad that we moved back to an area where I have help and I have the privilege of asking for help, because a lot of people don't have that. And that makes a huge difference in your mental well-being and how you're coping with parenting and all of the above. So with that in mind, like, I mean, 3 kids sounds like so much fun, but like the reality and like the cost of 3 children, I don't know. I think I'd have to do some heavy convincing to Glenn to get that to happen. But yeah, definitely would love another baby. I get why people have large families now. Like, babies don't keep. She is huge. I have a monster of a child now. She's 10 months. As of you watching this right now, she's 10 months old. That's insane. Like, where is my baby? I was looking at photos of her the other day and I'm like, she was so small, I could just fit her in my one arm, and like now she's like a hefty child that's like almost walking. So I understand wanting to extend this period of your life with small children, because again, it is just so short-lived, and once it's done, that's it. You'll never have that again. And man, it's so chaotic and fun and stressful, and there's just so many emotions that being a parent brings, and I just feel so lucky to get to experience that. And again, like I said, I like it so much more than I ever thought that I would. So now I'm like, give me all the babies, but have to be realistic. So 2 is a very realistic number. 3 is very lofty for me, but like, what's your least favorite part of your motherhood journey so far? I think my least favorite part is other people trying to interject their perception and experience and assume that because that was their experience, that it must be my experience, or that it will be my experience. Just you wait. Sometimes I receive comments of people being like, this is just so unrealistic. And it's like, it might be, but for myself and maybe for others, it might be very realistic. Everyone has a different life. Everyone has a different partner, a different job, a different baby, a different mental health, a different privilege, a different whatever, you know? And there is no one reality. It's just ridiculous to think that everyone's going to have the exact same experience as you. Like, honey. Okay, last question today is, what are your thoughts on partners watching porn? I think that this can be a very sticky subject for a lot of couples, because it can be uncomfortable, and especially if you didn't grow up in a sex positive environment, it can just be hard to talk about. I think that, like with any dopamine drug, it is very important to recognize whether or not it's being used for emotional escapism. If you are consuming this, watching this content, taking this drug, whatever, in order to escape from what your reality is, that is so dangerous on so many levels and can create addiction that just keeps going and going. It's just a slippery slope, right? But if you are mindful about your consumption and it isn't affecting other aspects of your relationship and you're actively communicating that, I don't really think that there needs to be a problem. For myself, over the years, I've definitely steered towards watching ethical porn. So something that I think I've talked about on TMI Tuesday before. Not that like I watch a lot of porn, but like if I were to watch porn, it would be something like X Confessions. The director Erika Lust, she is a Swedish-born erotic film director, and she basically takes real people's desires and creates them into a erotic little porn video. And I think that's great because that is something that is ethical and something that is sex positive and something that is real. It's not some, you know, degrading MILF bangs, blah, blah, like, come on. There is, I think deep down in your heart, you know when something feels scuzzy and when something is like, okay, this is actually, you know, realistic and human experience, and it turns me on. There's a difference between those two. And I really think that ethical porn needs to have more of a mainstay place. And I think that the issue ends up going more down the line of when porn is free, it is not going to be ethical. And when porn is paid for, there can be a huge jumping point of this can be something that is monitored, something that is, again, I keep coming back to the word ethical, but like there is consent. It is modeling real relationship dynamics. It is not something that is inherently unhealthy when it's showing and depicting real people with real scenarios and real sexy situations. So I think it just depends on what kind of porn you're consuming and the communication surrounding that. If my partner was consuming porn every single day, yeah, I would have a problem with that. As long as you're on the same page with your partner and you're having these conversations, I personally do not see it as an issue, but I can totally understand why people do find it to be an issue and why people say like, all porn is bad. I mean, I can understand that viewpoint, but I don't necessarily agree. So yeah, I'm curious. I would love to turn that question around on you guys. What do you think about your partner watching porn? Are you okay with it? Are you not okay with it? Like, Riley Reid is a dream. Anyway, that is my TMI Tuesday for this week. I hope that you enjoyed. Thank you so much if you made it to the end of the video. Please don't forget, leave me a bunch of new questions for the next one down below. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.